All right, so I'm here with Jesse at RDI Training Facility in Pleasanton, and I know that Jesse is an active SWAT officer, and so I've been wanting to get his take on his belt setup for quite some time. So we're gonna basically go through his belt setup and how it applies to his work and his job, and then we'll also take a look at my belt setup, which is going to be more geared towards civilians and training. So if you can take it away, we'll start from left to right. If we could start,
Yeah,
yeah, with your magazine, pistol magazine setup.
yeah, sir. I have two high-speed gear magazines that are connected to my Black Hawk Riggers belt. I know there's some fancy Cobra belts going on out there, uh, but in my line of work, I don't trust anything that connects that can become undone. I actually like the weaving part.
So no
Um,
buttons, like
uh,
no push button type
Correct.
stuff.
I'm not gonna say they have a bad rap because they don't. It's just a personal preference of mine. I prefer an old school Riggers belt. Um, so it's a Black Hawk belt. It's got a pad from High Speed Gear with Molly connections. So this is a basic tether for helicopter operations. Anytime we're flying, we got to tie up to something physical in the helicopter just for safety reasons. And so if you ever see this, that's all it is. It's a tether
Okay.
to lock into place for safety reasons.
I didn't know that that was something you guys get into, but
Absolutely,
okay.
yeah. Helicopter operations, a very important feature for the commander. He wants that option as far as accessing something that we need access.
Okay, like rooftop stuff like that.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, cool.
So as we go along here, basic standard radio pouch for police radio, my light, basic stream light.
Can you talk a little bit about real quick why you would want a handheld light on your belt setup if you already have a pistol light, for example?
Sure. So in tactical operations, I believe I'm carrying up to 5 lights, light sources of some type. The basic police handheld light is fundamental to searches. Anybody that has a weapon mounted light understands that you don't search areas or people with your lights,
Sure.
unless they're threats, obviously, and the use of deadly force is there as an option. So a handheld light's very invaluable. Basic patrol tactics, transferring over to SWAT tactics.
And even during the day, lights are still useful if you have to go into a building or something like that.
Absolutely, dark areas. Over 60% of police operations or activities occur in low light conditions, and that includes going from a daylight condition to a structure that's low lit inside.
Okay. Moving on, I noticed you have another carabiner here.
Mm-hmm. So this is part of the rigging system. Depending on what type of operations you do, depending on how what kind of insertion we're doing with the helicopter, this also serves as a additional tie down for the crew chief to tie us up to the helicopter. Uh, it's a safety feature for fast roping that we have. So that's always mounted on there, ready for helicopter operations.
Gotcha.
Um, Dump pouch, I like these that don't retain any water or small debris and dirt. Always helpful. People ask me, what do you use this for? Everything that I don't have a pouch for goes in here on the go. So very useful. Patrol officers, I see more and more patrol officers carrying dump pouches on their regular patrol gear. I think it's very important. Had I had this when I was on patrol, I definitely would have had one in my regular duty gear.
Okay.
The next thing you'll see here is a breakdown of my first aid kit. So I have a very basic blowout kit. If you see, it's pretty compact.
Yeah, I noticed that. I see a lot of folks will have a pretty large first aid setup, and when I saw yours, I noticed, okay, it's a little bit smaller than what I'm used to seeing. So I was just kind of curious. What's the reasoning?
First aid kit broken down into two. You see the tourniquet that I'm able to grab to from with my left hand or right hand. The other part is a compact first aid kit with just essentials. And the reason why I like to keep it compact is because we spend a lot of time in vehicles, and there's nothing worse than sitting in a vehicle for hours with your back jacked up because you have very bulky equipment in the back.
Gotcha.
So after years, that takes its toll.
Yeah, I've heard it can potentially, you can get into a situation where having something large on your back could cause injury too if you took like a fall or something like that.
Sure.
I don't know if that's something.
That could be a
Uh,
consequence. I'll be honest with you. I didn't think about that. Now, I won't say that this is the only first aid kit I carry. So with my level 3 vest that I put on, the other half of this blowout kit is on that vest.
okay.
So it's situated in such a way again that doesn't affect my back. Plus, it allows me to carry more weaponry, anything else that I need to sling towards the back
Without getting caught up.
without getting caught up in very bulky
Okay.
equipment that's sticking out.
This is just a standard, like a cat tourniquet, pretty standard.
Very standard
stuff.
tourniquet.
Does your agency dictate the stuff as far as the medical stuff that you carry, or is this pretty much left up to personal preference?
It's a little bit of both. They'll have a basic. If you're gonna carry individual first aid kit, there are specific equipment that you'll be carrying. But for us, we go past that. There's chest seals we can use. There's tourniquets. There's compact gauze we can use. Certain members of our team are trained past that to be able to do other things in an emergency. Something that I don't train in, just because I'm disgusted by bodily fluids, so I choose not to. But in an emergency, we try to carry as much equipment as possible.
Okay. Then I see you have a multi-tool here as well.
Yeah, so this is a piece of equipment that I think is overlooked a lot by officers. A multi-tool, this is kind of like the jack of all trades, right? A basic Leatherman that has pliers, some form of screwdrivers, knife within it. This is invaluable. And if you ask me, do you want a knife or a multi-tool? I'll take a multi-tool anytime because it's more past a knife.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty versatile.
Mm-hmm.
And then moving on to your holster setup and your sidearm.
Sure. So I have a level 3 Safariland ALS holster with the hood. This is just a dust cover for my red dot. Okay, it doesn't really provide protection per se from suspects or anyone trying to get my weapon, but it is a level 3. Anytime I train, anything that I do, I will keep a level 3 holster with me just to build on that muscle memory.
Consistency.
Absolutely. And so I don't deviate from that whatsoever.
Okay, cool.
And then the last thing you'll see is my gloves. Very important to carry gloves, hand protection. I usually cut the index finger and the thumb just for dexterity, be able to grab things and they don't slip off my hands. But also a very important piece of equipment.
Gotcha. All right, so we just finished up talking about Jesse's duty belt setup as a SWAT officer. Now we're going to move over to my belt setup, which is really coming from a civilian perspective. I do have just a little bit of military background, but nothing related to combat arms at all. So what you see here is strictly based on me wanting to take classes and just get out and do some training. So I don't use it for work, so it looks a lot prettier and less used than yours is. But I guess we could start on the same side. Go from there, whatever.
Yeah, so I'm seeing, as far as your setup, I'm seeing a lot of things that mirror mine. Obviously, I have a necessity for certain things that you don't necessarily, such as radio pouches. I see you have an AR magazine pouch, but a lot of similarities in the way that I have my system. So tell me a little bit about these real quick.
Yeah, sure. So these are the HSGI tacos.
Mhm.
I think that's the same as
Same as
yours.
mine.
Yeah, just obviously a different color. I got these from a buddy. Like I don't have a bunch of money, so I just got these like secondhand from a buddy. But I like them. I've never had like magazines fall out or anything like that. There are newer products on the market. I'm sure like some of the G-code stuff that are newer, or some people will say better, but I'm happy with these. And then per like some class requirements, you're going to need at least two pistol mags typically. So I run those two there. This rifle magazine is kind of like an optional mag placement if I want to use it as a rifle mag, or sometimes I will use it for other stuff, like just random. I could put another tourniquet in there if I needed to.
Sure.
I could put pretty much, they're pretty forgiving as far as how much they stretch. So sometimes I'll use it as like a miscellaneous pouch. Mm-hmm. I do want to mention that this is a T-Rex Arms Orion complete belt system. So it does have, kind of a grip grippy backing. It doesn't weave through another belt. It just simply goes around,
All right.
and it sticks to your body with that rubber.
Cool.
Dump pouch. Again, this is a dumpster find on Fort Bliss. So
But it worked for you.
Yeah, it works for me. It was free.
Yeah.
But I like that you mentioned yours is mesh, so it's gonna let water pass through it easier, and it'll dry off quicker. So maybe when I'm ready to invest,
And I'm thinking most of these older dump pouches do have
some
the,
outlets.
yeah, some outlets for water.
Right.
Mine was lens more for debris as well, but no, this is good. Have you seen the smaller ones that some
Yeah.
people went to for some time, probably a few years ago,
Yep.
because they didn't want a lot of real estate being taken up,
Mhm.
and then they found that it was hard to find, for lack of better
Yep.
expression, it was hard to find the hole.
That's exactly what happened to
So-
me. Yeah, because I had a small one, like
Mhm.
exactly like you're describing. But when I went to reach around, like I would always like miss it when I want to drop something in there
Yeah.
or whatever. So larger for me is I like it better. So
So there you go. We just said you're going to do a reach around to find the hole. Okay, there you go. Leave that in there. So tell me about this blowout kit.
yeah, sure. So again, the contents are going to be very basic. It's probably just more of what you have. So chest seals, combat gauze. There's probably a tourniquet in there. There's some other miscellaneous stuff. I should know what's in there, but I'm obviously not keeping up with it. I need to get in there and look through the contents again and make sure I have what I need.
We have a first aid class coming up this spring, so
Okay. Well, I need to go to it then. This little chem light was on there from your low light class, which is like a handheld combined with weapon mounted light class. And so this is like an identifier.
dude. And you know what I was going to tell you about this? Is this part of the opening?
No, the opening is actually this. It's the cable. Actually, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Yeah, it is. It is this, as a matter
Right.
of
So I
fact.
was going to give you credit. I said, dude, you dummy proofed it.
No.
You put
that
a big
was-
old handle.
that's-
Hey, I'm reaching behind. Grab
that-
it. Go. Brilliant.
Actually,
It'd be a good idea.
good point. Yeah.
So you have another AR magazine.
Yeah,
on
so
this?
excuse me, when I described that earlier, this is the primary. Like this is an absolutely dedicated rifle magazine slot. This is the one that's kind of general purpose, miscellaneous. I'm sorry,
miscellaneous use?
it was just flipped around.
Sure.
So I just wanted to clarify that
Yeah.
that is the side that I'm going to mostly reload from as a right-handed shooter. And then moving on, I want to say the exact same multi-tool as yours, or very similar.
Yes.
Again, I just can't.
Vital.
Yeah, I can't do without it. I mean, it just comes in handy for pretty much everything. Safari Land, ALS, big difference is going to be is not level 3. So the only thing that I'm using, which you're more than welcome to kind of critique me on and give me pointers, but I just have the nub.
This got to be a level 2.
Yeah.
So and it does the work, and that's the difference between law enforcement and what I would say civilian defense, is that you don't necessarily need the level 3 because you're probably not finding yourself in what we would call realistic world wearing this gear a lot.
Right. Exactly.
Okay, so you're not really throwing chingazos as much
Sure.
as police officers are. So this is more than enough. Double retention is what I would recommend for civilian defense.
Okay.
The triple retention is more for officers who are duking it out close in with bad guys day in, day out. So that's a badass piece of gear. So
Now, like you said earlier, if I ever decided to move to like a level 3 for any reason, that's something I would have to retrain on, because I'm going to be so used to using this that I'm probably going to slip up when it comes time.
absolutely.
So,
absolutely,
so-
it's another step in the unholstering process, and muscle memory is going to be key. Go ahead.
Gotcha. And then over here again, another nod to your low light class. I took that class without any way to hold a light on my belt, and I found that was really not ideal. So I went ahead and added a Kydex light sheath, and then got a Surefire Turbo handheld, which I really like. And it just Molly just slips right in, like anything else. Gloves, same as you, trying to keep from getting hand injuries, and then another tourniquet. I don't have any dummy proofing like you had where you have zip ties, so maybe that's a consideration for some pointers later down the line. Maybe you can show me a few things as far as how to, dummy proof your stuff.
Yeah.
But otherwise,
And I think the more you train, and depending what atmosphere you train in, that's going to answer itself. If you saw my gear, a lot of my gear had over-the-top security and dummy proofing, and that's just from coming in and out of tactical vehicles. Like I said, we do helicopter operations. We definitely don't want anything loose in that type of environment. So a lot of it relates to that. So a lot of the civilian defense that occurs out there, you don't necessarily need that unless you want to. I don't recommend it. There's no need for it. But if you're going to be running around, throwing yourself on the ground a lot, coming up, coming down, dummy proofing things would be important. But I think it'll answer itself as you go on through training.
okay, awesome.
So,
Well, I look forward to taking some more training, and as always, the training, as you train more, it's going to dictate, kind of what you use, and you'll find out which equipment works and what doesn't.
absolutely.
So-
Absolutely. Awesome.
Well,
Cool.
thanks for your time. I really appreciate getting your perspective on that. It's not every day you get to talk to somebody that's worked in SWAT for that long. So yeah, I appreciate your time.
Cool. Like the people in Chick-fil-A. My pleasure.